Yeah, so I guess we'll move on to your topic, Scale. You want to hit us over the head with that?
Sure. Well, over there in the UK, home of the crumpets and the beamers, a new petition has gone up. So in the United Kingdom, a petition has surfaced online pleading the government to intervene in publishers killing games by taking them offline. The official title of the petition is "Require Video Game Publishers to Keep Games They Have Sold in a Working State." That's the title. Thousands of signatures have already been signed. And this is a blurb from the UK Parliament website. It states it would require publishers to leave video games and related game assets, features they have sold to customers in a reasonably working state when support ends, so that no further intervention whatsoever is necessary for the game to function as a statutory customer or consumer right. There have been 10,000 the petition needs 10,000 signatures before the government will respond, and 100,000 signatures could be debated into Parliament. I'll start with you, Fang. We're talking in the green room. You said you miss physical media. What do you think about this?
No, as I call myself old here, I'm relatively old, I guess. But I enjoy physical media. But to be honest, I don't see why this can't be a thing off the rip, because I'm gonna embarrass myself. Okay, I played a lot of the Avengers. Me and like 7 other people played the hell out of the Avengers. Right? The Avengers, they say, all right, support is done, we're shutting down, but you can still play Avengers because they got the peer-to-peer connection. I don't understand why that can't be a thing for most games, right? Because I understand games are coming from, hey, I spent $70 on this game, and a month later it's dead and I can't play it again. I can't get a refund, right? And I guess, and of course, we're in the age of digital media and you're not owning anything. I mean, Ubisoft is telling you getting used to not owning things, right? I got a feeling that a lot of rich people with enough money will make sure this is not a thing, that they can shut things down when they want because it's their game, it's their time. But I do think this is something that should be it should be mandatory, because I don't understand. I can pop in the Avengers right now if I wanted to get back with the other 7 people and play Avengers, and we can play, you know, and they're not supporting the game anymore. They're not doing updates to the game anymore. It's all based on our own connection. That should be possible, right? I think a lot of companies have gotten too comfortable just saying, hey, we got your coins. What are you going to do? Like, who's going to check me?
Yep.
Right? And I like when people stand up for themselves. I love when little guys stand up. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, at least not no time soon. I don't think we're at that place in gaming where something like this can be mandated. But hey, if you like it, I love it. It's worth the shot.
It is worth a shot. I think it's a good look for sure. Jaffe, same question. What do you think about the UK's petition?
Well, I like how the UK has, in the last, 10 years, they've really been the only meaningful consumer watch group for new media and digital and internet. In America, it's just, it tends to be a lot easier to steamroll the consumer watchdogs. And I do think there are, whether it's, the law that went into effect recently where Apple there has to be a standard plug for cell phones. You can't just have these fucking, proprietary things, and, everything from things like that to the, their new stuff about kids and buying things online and all that stuff and what has to be revealed. I think they
did like loot boxes, and also like the new stuff with Apple and the
that's right.
They have to open the stores up to
and all that is my understanding is originated there in England in terms of the consumer groups and certainly Europe. And a lot of times it's like, well, I guess we have to deal with it over here as well, because you can't have 2 different systems, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, you can sometimes. But anyway, so I mean, I like that it's petition. I don't necessarily think it's toothless, but here's what I think. I don't think that you're ever going to get what the petition asks for, because it's not practical and it's not probable. Like, you can't just flip a switch and make games peer-to-peer, right? Because for example, the last game I did was networked, and it was some of it was server authenticated, some of it was peer-to-peer. When the server authentication stuff goes away because Sony no longer supports it, the game will play abysmally if suddenly, even if you could just go, oh, let's now make it peer-to-peer. So I don't think that, and I also don't think you can force a company to continue to support something, but I do think what the law needs to be, and it'll probably happen, but it'll probably happen coming from movie and TV stuff first. Like all it's going to take is one big fucking movie that people have purchased and suddenly it's taken off the service. I understand that you don't own the movie, you own the license, but there should be some kind of payback where it's like, okay, yeah, we took Titanic off and you own Titanic on Apple TV, you own the license. We can't get that back for you, but what we can do is refund your money. That law seems like it could actually be somewhat more able, not in the way I pitched it exactly, because then you're like, what? So every time you buy something, we can't ever shut it down and we have to give all the money back. You know, there's got to be some balance there, but I think it's just going to take one event where one big item that everyone has is removed. And then they're like, what the fuck? And then you're going to see Congress get involved and blah, blah, blah. So I don't think it can sustain it the way it is, because we're seeing it more and more and more with these, with movies and TV shows and games. And even though I understand that you sign a terms of service, even that, I mean, I reloaded Modern Warfare 3 the other day because I wanted to get back into playing it. There were literally 3 contracts I had to quote sign or agree to, and each of them was like 12 or 14 pages of scanning down with the right stick before I even got to the box that said I agree. And there's a point where it's like, yeah, you fucking lawyer, fuck yeah, I signed it. But there's a point where I think consumer groups are going to come forward and say this is ridiculous. Like you can get divorced faster than you can sign up to play Call of Duty. Right. I mean, that's the kind of, that's the level of commitment they're asking you to jump through. It's dumb. So I like what they're doing. I don't think it's going to get done in the way they're talking about it, but the fact they're talking about it is a good first step.
I agree. It is a good first step. I'll go to you, Nova. What do you think about the UK petition?
I think it's great, man. It's always some good things coming out, like in like right to repair, or like, it seems like consumer laws are getting better over there, man. I wish we did have some of that stuff over here on the other side of the pond, man. But
bro, the EU in general is just crazy with consumer protections.
Right.
Bro. Like
it seems like they care a little bit, you know. But I'm kind of in the middle though, because I don't feel like it's a clear-cut way to solve this, because, you know, like for instance, The Crew came out, I think it was like 2014, I think, then they took that game down, and I think some of the people did get their money back. But how long do you keep these quote unquote servers up for, you know? Because some of the games, they're still supported. For instance, I got a update for Team Fortress 2 today on Steam, and that came out in 2007, man, on, you know, an orange box, Xbox and PC at the time, which was an amazing package, by the way.
Agreed.
But yeah, so like, how long do we keep these servers up? But there are other people that's trying to find like workarounds. Like for instance, we just heard that the Wii U and the 3DS servers just went down, and there was another third-party company that created Pretendo. So they have like these servers that you could then connect to and still have your online capability and stuff with your own games and stuff like that. So if they're cool with like potentially, if possible, like Jaffe said, maybe it's not possible for all games. Maybe you do need some type of server authentication on some games, so it's not, you know, it's not one thing that services them all. But if they're cool with letting third-party companies then try to facilitate these other things, then I'm cool with that. So all of our old games don't go by the wayside, you know, because I'm a huge fan of playing classic games. So as long as we can keep doing that, I'm all good, man.
It's all going to be streaming in the next 10 years anyway, though. So you're never even going to have to do any of that, because it'll be like, you know, you go to Game Pass streaming and they pull something off. You've never bought it. Like you don't want to sue somebody when Netflix takes a show off. It's just like, well, that's how it works, you know?
I agree. I'll kick it to you, Viking. What do you think about the UK petition?
The most interesting shit about this whole thing is the actual UK petition. I was looking up like how that shit works. Like 10,000 signatures. This is for anything that goes on that site. 10,000 signatures. You have to give, the government has to give you, it's not optional. They have to give you a formal response. We don't have that here.
Not at all.
Nah, bro.
Of course, it wouldn't be 10,000 because our population is wild. But like states should have that, cities should have that, and the government as a whole should have that for all kinds of issues, like, or at least to get a formal response from the government. And then, like, if you get enough signatures for it to be debated on the House floor, which I think would be phenomenal. We get to see what everybody's opinions is. But like when it comes to this digital shit or new age technology stuff, like everybody in there is like 80 years old. They're not gonna have a clue what to talk about. But that's the most interesting shit about this whole thing is I didn't know the UK had something like that. And I think that's excellent for their citizens. Secondly, yeah, like I wish there was a way, and we talk about this a lot on this show. Like when I bought a DVD from 2000 and let's just 1998. I don't know, was DVDs out by that time?
Probably not.
Yeah, but anyway, as the first DVD ever made, first DVD ever made, I could pop that into my Blu-ray player, and it'll work still. Right, like a lot of this stuff, like there's PS1 games, PS2 games that I can't pop into my PS5 and it just won't work. I don't understand. Like, Jaffe, can you help me understand the licensing between generation to generation?
It's usually not it's usually not a licensing issue. It's a tech issue, right? So, you know, it's you're basically every time you get a new console, it's getting less now because they're more and more like PCs. But certainly, if you go to PS1 to 2 to 3. The architecture was different. You don't, it's not like, you know, I mean, even if you have a PC, it's hard to run something that came out in 95, you know, on Windows 10 today, because even that kind of overlay is like, I don't know what to do with this thing. But when you're talking about the hardware itself and the code speaking directly to the hardware about what gets loaded when and how fast it comes off the disk and what gets into the RAM, well, this doesn't have as much RAM as that has. And so where are you going to put this? You know, it's not a licensing issue so much as just a need to do a port or something. But again, all of that will go away. But for right now, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, people talk about physical media not ever going away when it comes to video games. And I think what they keep forgetting, it's not like movies or vinyl or whatever. There will always be an audience for that because the way to play those things is pretty standard. You know, I can play my VHS copy of Raiders of the Lost Ark on, you know, something from RCA, and you can play something on a brand new company just made like a retro VCR. Right. But who's going to make a system that is able to somehow be a PS2 that plays games from that era that isn't Sony? You don't have the rights to do it. You know, so I think gaming is, I mean, hell, I saw today that Target announced that by 2025, like Best Buy did, they're getting rid of all their physical media, not just games, but music, movies, all of it.
I go to my local Target often. That shit's wiped out. Like there's almost nothing there. Almost nothing. And people made fun of me on Twitter. I was like, yo, they said they're not restocking this back up. Or you liar. Physical media is here to stay. Yeah, that's just going away, man.
No. And I looked it up and it said DVDs came out in 96.
I saw that.
Wow, bro.
What was the first I remember the first DVD I got. What was the first DVD you got? You remember?
Oh, no. Definitely cannot remember.
Nope, can't remember it. Oh, hold on. Nope, can't remember. Nope.
I remember the first not CD-ROM, but CD music CD I bought. Those things stick with me. I don't know why. Anyway,
mine was Crucial Conflict.
Your first DVD, CD music CD. Yeah,
yep. Crucial Conflict. That was my jam back then. Smoking on hay
in the middle of the barn. Yeah, love that song.
Yeah. Yeah. I would listen. Hopefully this gets like whatever brings Battleborn back. I don't give a shit. Make it happen.
You love that game, man.
I'll never stop.
You can get it for $5 at Five Below. They got like 18,000.
It don't work.